Well, hello, Psychology 2020 people. My name's John. I'm one of your Eastern Campus librarians, and Professor Resnick asked me to make this video for you, so I'm coming to you from my office at home. Alright, so you have a peer-reviewed journal critique assignment coming up, and there are a few requirements. So, the first thing is, you've got to use a journal article that was written between 2015 and this year, and you're not allowed to use a few things to find it. So, web pages, blogs, Wikipedia, that's pretty standard, but she's also telling you that you're supposed to use the library specifically and not Google Scholar. So if you're one of those people that's used to Scholar, hopefully I can show you something new. If you've used the library databases in the past, maybe a little bit of review, but hopefully I can show you some new stuff. One of the other things is that you're supposed to be using an academic journal in the field of psychology, and you also need to download this thing and save it. Now, Professor Resnick is saying that she wants a 2 to 3 page summary and critique. So one quick thing to note here is that when you're looking for a peer-reviewed journal, make sure that it's actually got some substance to it. If you happen to find something that's 1 or 2 pages long, it's going to be kind of difficult to get 2 to 3 pages out of something that's only about 2 pages long. Now, the good news, and I'm making air quotes for you here, is that a lot of peer-reviewed journal articles are usually between, 10 and 20. So, for better or worse, you're going to be able to find stuff that's kind of long. So, to start off with, you see that I'm on Google. I'm just going to do a search for Tri-C Library. That takes you to our webpage. And since you're in a psychology class, you're going to go to the research guides under this orange button, and you're going to scroll down until you get to the P's, and there is psychology. So you're just going to click on that first general psychology guide, and you'll notice that there are a lot of different resources available if you're trying to find a scholarly article. The thing I'm going to start you out with, though, is APA Psycinfo, and you'll see why I point you toward this really quick here. Alright, so if you're at home, which you probably are, you're going to be asked to enter your S number and your MyTriC space password. So once you do that, it'll take you right in. Alright, so here's Psycinfo. Now, if you've ever used Academic Search Complete for, say, an English class, you might be looking at this and going, isn't this the same thing? And the reason for that is this EBSCO company makes both of them. They use the same design, so they look really similar. The only difference is Psycinfo is all psychology all the time. So you don't have to wonder about, looking at your list of search results and going, are all of these things coming from a psychology journal? So that takes a little bit of guesswork out of this for you. Alright, so I'm going to start off by doing just a pretty basic search here. Let's say that I wanted to look at, self-esteem. Alright, so if I just go ahead and do a search, there are 52,731 results here. And that's because I just told this database, find everything that you have that contains the term self-esteem. Now, that casts a really wide net, but it also gives you a lot of stuff that you have to look through. So here are a few quick tricks that you can use. So first of all, these articles date back to 1696. And Professor Resnick is saying use stuff 2015 to present. So I just click that bar, drag it over until it gets to 2015. You can also just edit that. So let me go ahead and do that and make this a little more specific. Alright, so our 50-some thousand already dropped down to 9,660, which is still a terrifying amount, but it's much smaller. Alright, so next up, there are a few different kinds of material in here. There are dissertations, which people had to write to get a PhD, and they are terrifying to read. There are entire books, and then there are the academic journals, which Professor Resnick is asking you to read. So we're going to click on that, get rid of about another 1,000 results, and here are a couple of the areas where Psycinfo is really useful. This is the only database that we have that lets you specify the particular age of the person that's being written about. So if you wanted to look at self-esteem in, kids, so birth to 12 years, you can just click childhood. If you're looking for the teenage years, adolescence, you can just click that box. And the number in parentheses shows you what that number of results will drop down to once you've clicked the box. Alright, so you'll see that self-esteem shows up as a subject for a lot of these articles. That's a good thing. In order to be tagged as a subject, the article really has to focus on that particular term. If you wanted to look at a particular gender, you can usually do that as well. If that is an option, it'll just say either gender or sex over here. It looks like we've kind of narrowed this down to the point that it isn't giving us that many things, but you'll see that there are also Chinese heritage, Italian non-immigrant early adolescence, so some of these get really, really specific. So since you're still looking at about 2,000 results, this is another area where we can narrow it down a little bit. So right now we're just looking at self-esteem. Big, big, big topic. If we wanted to look at self-esteem and, let's say transgender teenagers. So all we need to do is add another term. This and is kind of like a plus sign, so it's saying find any article that has this word and this word in it. And as you get pickier, there are going to be fewer articles left to look through. Now, we kept our 2015 to 2020. I'm just going to re-click on academic journals, which is going to take us down to 105. And now you see that there's the category for age and gender. Now, if you're looking at something, if you're looking for articles about transgender individuals, this is kind of dumb because that defeats the purpose. But you can still click on age, and now you only have 24 things to look through. So adding one other term here can be a huge help to you. So from here, you're going to notice that a lot of the articles are going to have this thing that says full text finder under the titles. A few of them will have the thing that says PDF full text. So let me explain that. If I were to click on this thing that says PDF full text, the article will just pop up on the screen. If I click on anything that says full text finder, that's going to give me a breadcrumb to follow to where that article lives. So there's the breadcrumb, I click it, and then there is the PDF full text. So this is the thing here that Professor Resnick is saying we need to download and then upload into Blackboard when it's time to submit that critique. Okay, so I've left the other tabs open up here, so let me take you back to the results list. If I click on that PDF, like I said before, the article just pops up on the screen, and it still has that download option there. So if I just go back to my results list, so deciding what article to use can be, easy or difficult depending on, if you find something that looks really awesome early or, if you need to scroll through a few results. So one thing that you can do to help decide if an article is good, you click the title. That's usually going to give you an abstract, which is sort of like the summary of the article. It's not a replacement for reading the whole thing, but it kind of gives you an idea about whether it's worth your time to read the whole article. If you need to get the citation for this, after you've clicked on the title and you're on this page that has the abstract, over here there's this thing that says Cite. You're just going to click on that, scroll down to the APA section. There's the citation for this thing, copy paste. It's always a good idea to make sure that, there's nothing screaming at you in all caps or anything like that, but this is really good at putting stuff in the right order. So let me go ahead and take you into this article, because one of the things that Professor Resnick asks you to look at are the results, the method that the people used to do the research, that kind of stuff. And the scholarly articles are usually going to have headings that basically kind of spread things out into things like method, or if we scroll down here, the results of the study, so you know where most of the stuff is going to be. Now, discussion and results are usually very related. So the results might say, this is what we found, but the discussion is usually pretty good at putting the results into more, normal people language. So it's a good idea to read both. When it comes to stuff like the methods, it might say, we did a survey of this many people, and, that's great. If there are ever any things like, this diagram or equations, you don't need to get that far into this. They did a survey of X many people. Basically, just, try and get that information out of the article. You don't need to try and understand the diagrams or the equations, unless Professor Resnick tells you that you have to, okay? The other thing is, if you find something and it says that it's, 8 pages, usually at least 1 or 2 of those is going to be the citations for the stuff that these authors read to write the paper. So if you find something that says it's 15 pages long up here, the amount of text is usually going to be at least a couple pages less, okay? All right, so the last thing here is, I've done an example of one search, and I got it down to a small number pretty quick. But just to show you that this isn't a completely impossible thing, let's say that I wanted to look at, let's say spanking, and see if that ever led to violence. So you'll notice that I'm not throwing a thesis statement in here. I'm basically pulling out the nouns from the question I ask. And that's how these databases speak, so make sure that you speak their language. So 37 different results here. Now, it's pulling up violence because I typed in aggressive behavior, and, spanking is highlighted in a lot of these things, but one thing that you may have thought when I typed in spanking, well, one of the synonyms for spanking is corporal punishment. So right now, I've got 37 results. If I use corporal punishment instead, I get 96. So sometimes a different word for the same idea or concept can give you different results. So again, we still have our 2015. Just going to click on linked full text to make sure that only available stuff shows up, and that cuts down a few results. Going to click on academic journals again. And let's see if I can find school-age children this time, so 6 to 12 years old. So again, I'm down to 31 results, largely because I used the bar over here on the left to narrow as much stuff down as possible. Now, if you want to, you can also look at the subject major headings or the subjects, and if there's anything else in there that jumps out at you, you can click those and narrow this down a little bit more. But that's the long and short of using this thing. If you start using this and you're getting way too many results or not enough, contact a librarian or email me or call me directly. If you just aren't finding anything, that's a great time to call a librarian as well. So, on the library website, you'll notice that there's a chat feature. This is a live chat that's available as long as the librarians are working. Our phone numbers are still functional as well, so if you call me, this will go straight to my cell. You can email us, or you can schedule a research appointment. So, if you run into any trouble, just let one of us know, but hopefully this gives you a pretty good idea about how to track down peer-reviewed articles using Psycinfo, what most academic journal articles are going to look like when you get into them, and remember, once you've done a search, click that title, look at the abstract, and use that to help you decide whether it's worth your time to click on the full text, follow those breadcrumbs, and open up the entire article. All right, good luck with your research, and please, let me know if you need any help.